You know, in today's world, pretty much every company is a software company. And what that really means is that every company is either building a digital fortress or, well, a house of cards. Today, we're going to dive into application security, which is absolutely essential for making sure your fortress stands strong.
So let's just start with a really direct question, especially for anyone out there building software. How secure is your code? Really? It's the kind of question that keeps a lot of security pros up at night because, let's be honest, the wrong answer can lead to data breaches, a trashed reputation, and some massive financial losses. And the reason that question is so hard to answer is that modern apps aren't simple little programs anymore. No way! They're these complex ecosystems with just countless ways for attackers to get in. We're talking about the whole shebang you see here, from classic stuff like SQL injections to really subtle business logic flaws or secrets just sitting exposed in your code. Every single one is like a potential open door.
Okay, so how on earth do you defend against such a huge array of threats? Well, that brings us to our main topic, Fortify. It's a platform that's specifically designed to be the foundation of a real enterprise-level security fortress.
So what is it really? At its heart, Fortify is an advanced application security testing platform. The best way to think of it is as a complete toolkit that helps big organizations find and fix security holes in their software, from the very first line of code a developer writes all the way to the live application running out in the world.
So how does Fortify actually deliver on that big promise? Well, it's all built on 4 key pillars of protection. Let's break down each one so we can see how they work together to create a full security picture. First up, we've got Fortify SCA, which stands for Static Code Analyzer. This is what's known as a SAST tool, or Static Application Security Testing. My favorite analogy for this is an architect who's meticulously checking the blueprints of a building for any structural weaknesses before a single brick is ever laid. That's what SCA does. It scans the raw source code, the very blueprint of your software, for potential security flaws.
Now, the real magic of this approach is when it happens. A developer writes some code and boom, the scan happens right then and there. But here's the best part. It doesn't just find problems, it also gives guidance on exactly how to fix them. This lets the developer squash those bugs instantly, making sure vulnerabilities get wiped out long before they ever make it into a finished product.
All right, let's move on to the next pillar, Fortify WebInspect. This is a DAST tool, which means Dynamic Application Security Testing. So if SCA was checking the blueprints, WebInspect is the security team that's actively trying to break into the finished building. It tests your live, running application by hitting it with simulated real-world attacks to see if the defenses hold up.
And this is where the game totally changes. The application is now live, it's deployed. WebInspect starts launching these simulated attacks to find issues you can only discover in a live environment. We're talking about things like server misconfigurations or flawed session management. It's a completely different, but just as vital kind of security testing. Okay, so you've got all this data pouring in from your static scans and your dynamic scans. You need a place to manage it all, right? That's exactly where Fortify SSC, the Software Security Center, comes in. This is the command center of your fortress. It's the one single dashboard where all that security intelligence gets gathered, tracked, and managed, giving you a clear, unified view of your risk.
And that brings us to the final pillar, Fortify On Demand, or FOD. Think of this as the flexible, cloud-based option. It gives you all the power of Fortify's scanning engines, but delivered as a service. This is perfect for teams that want that enterprise-grade security, but don't want the headache of managing all the infrastructure themselves. So those are the 4 pillars. Now let's get into the fun stuff and talk about the key superpowers that make Fortify such a go-to tool for big companies. What really sets it apart from the crowd?
First off, it's the sheer breadth of its coverage. Fortify SCA supports over 30 different programming languages and frameworks. It doesn't matter if your teams are using Java, Python, C++, JavaScript, or even newer languages like Go and Kotlin, chances are Fortify can analyze the code. And for an organization with a bunch of different tech stacks, that is a huge deal.
Next up is the depth of its analysis. Fortify is famous for its accuracy. It's really good at not wasting developers' time with false alarms, and it does that by using advanced techniques like taint propagation analysis. Now, in simple terms, that means it doesn't just spot a potential problem, it actually traces how a piece of malicious data could travel through your application, from the entry point all the way to where it does damage. That level of detail is what makes its findings so incredibly reliable.
And this one is absolutely crucial for modern development. It meets developers right where they are. Fortify plugs directly into the tools they already use, IDEs like VS Code and CI/CD pipelines like Jenkins or GitHub Actions. This is the very essence of shift-left security, making security a seamless, natural part of the development workflow, not some big, scary gate at the very end that blocks releases.
And finally, here's a superpower that can literally save organizations countless hours: compliance. Fortify automatically maps all of its findings to major standards like the OWASP Top 10, PCI for finance, or HIPAA for healthcare. This turns what is usually a painful manual audit process into a streamlined automated report. And that, my friends, is a massive advantage.
So with all these incredible features, you might be wondering, is Fortify the right choice for everyone? Well, that's a great question. Let's take a balanced look at where it really fits in the market to help you figure that out.
You know, this competitive view really makes Fortify's position crystal clear. While you have tools like Sneak that are very developer-focused, or SonarQube that's more about code quality, Fortify's real superpower is that it combines top-tier static analysis with its own powerful dynamic testing. And that complete end-to-end coverage is what truly defines it as an enterprise solution. So here's the bottom line. Fortify's greatest strengths are its incredibly deep analysis, its high accuracy, and that amazing central governance. But those strengths do come with some trade-offs. It can be pretty expensive, it has a steeper learning curve, and the setup can be complex. It's an unbelievably powerful tool, for sure, but it's really built for large organizations that have the resources and the security needs to justify that kind of investment.
So if you were to boil this all down to just one single idea, it's this. Fortify equals end-to-end application security, specifically designed for complex enterprise-level software. That's its sweet spot.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Because, understanding the tools is one thing, but actually applying the principles, that's everything. So I'll leave you with this to think about. How strong is your digital fortress? And what's the very next step you're going to take to make it even stronger? Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.